Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back with another video from Annie News, and I've just finished Season 1. Well, I haven't, it was a couple of days ago. I'm partway through Season 2 now of Isekai Quartet, and I've seen that Annie News has done these, every Easter egg in Isekai Quartet, and I'm just like, cool, because I really enjoyed it, to be fair. I thought it was quite funny at first. I was like, this is so dumb, but the characters, the way they interact with each other, it makes sense, and so like, the way that their magic works, or the way the character works, or the way Aqua hates, Ainz because he's a demon and all this other stuff. I've never seen Tanya Saga of Evil. Is that what the other little blonde girl's from? But all the other three I have, and I'm starting to actually learn bits from Tanya Saga of Evil through this as well. Like Unknown X, is that the person that she like hates? Anyway, let's check this out. Why would you do this? There we go. It's so good. And then to have Shield Hero in Season 2, it's like, and they have all the voice actors as well. Yeah.
But to also delve deep into their individual lore and personal stories.
Here we go, yes.
From this comes an extra layer of depth that only those who are more familiar with each series can really appreciate.
I feel like you could enjoy it if you haven't seen the shows, but
subtle references to the root series of each character. For example, Episode 5 showcased Ainz using the 6th tier magic control weather to bring out a phenomenon that was considered rare in his world. A scene that alludes to the dystopian future that Ainz's former self comes from.
Oh, okay. Never thought of that.
There's a bit more to it than just that, but what I'm getting at is that I think it'd be pretty interesting to highlight more of these, especially if you're someone who only watches the anime. However, we do have to consider that this is a non-canon universe.
Yeah.
So some details that are applied in this show might not carry over to the originals. Specifically with
unless they just lose all their memories and they're back in the shows.
But let's start with Episode 1, then go from there.
Okay.
Let's begin. With regards to every series other than Overlord, there's a believable situation in which some person
yes, Aqua would definitely just press the button.
As for Overlord, given the insane level of caution...
Yeah, he's very cautious, isn't he, Ainz?
As well as the fact that his subordinates were given orders to not touch the
Oh
button.
yeah, he sits on it, doesn't he?
The likelihood of someone within Nazarick actually pushing the button are pretty much zero.
Yeah.
So, tricking Ainz into accidentally pushing the button was probably one of the few ways that this event could come to fruition. Now, in the moments before they teleport, Albedo is giving a brief glimpse into the state of the Bahareth Empire after the events of Season 3. Remember, the Empire had just witnessed Ainz single-handedly eliminate an
wow, that's interesting, so it's just after there.
It was a power so fearsome that
so they could go back and
it
it still fit in.
Leaving the Emperor in a less powerful position, both in the eyes of his citizens and the other nations. It also left open the potential for a revolt, a conflict which Ainz may have to step into should Season 4 ever get released.
Oh my god, I can't
Putting
wait.
aside the Overlord lore, after being isekai'd to the high school world, Aqua wants to use her Holy Punch to attack Ainz.
Yep.
Likely a reference to her God Blow attack, which, even though wasn't very effective against the frogs, would probably deal significant damage to any of the undead.
Yes, probably would, because they're undead, yeah.
I mean, it is mentioned to have the ability to purify the target. And although we don't get to see it in action in Episode 1, we do get to see just how strong Aqua's powers are in Episode 2. Aqua uses her AoE ability, Turn Undead, on Ainz and the Guardians.
He's not bothered at first, is he?
Ainz thought the spell would be weak is because in the Overlord universe, even someone like the low-level cleric Roberdick is capable of using the spell Turn Undead. If I had to guess, I'd say it's something around the level of Tier 2. But clearly that wasn't the case for Aqua. Hers was capable of not only affecting Ainz,
yeah, he proper freaks out. He's like, whoa!
Which, to be honest, is probably an accurate representation of just how powerful Aqua's holy spells are. I mean, as a goddess, literally all her stats except for luck and intelligence are maxed out.
Right.
Meaning her strength
Intelligence minus 999.
are the most powerful they can be. And as Ainz's natural counter due to his basic undead traits of extreme holy and light based upon her abilities, it makes sense that even a basic Turn Undead from her would be able to deal some sort of damage. Here's the thing though, that isn't even Aqua's most powerful spell. Aqua has an even higher level of Turn Undead, which is said to have the ability to purify even a lich. So, had she used that spell instead, then I suspect that Ainz would have been in a similar state to Shield hereafter. However, the fact that Ainz was able to resist an attack by Holy Goddess speaks volumes to his own power. I know we're all well aware that he's OP.
Yes,
Aqua is also overpowered in her own right, especially against undead. So so Ain's resisting god-level holy magic is nothing to simply write off.
Yeah.
As for the other guardians,
this is boss. I like this.
But the one who Ain's had to stop was Mare. In case you didn't know, he's one of the most powerful spellcasters in Nazarick, and a top contender to be the strongest floor guardian. But what he's known for the most is his devastating nature-based AoE and support spells. I mean, there's a reason why Ain's typically travels with Mare at his side.
Yeah, keep him around.
Mare being ready to cast one of his spells likely would have been bad for the entire neighborhood. Switching back to episode 1, in Tanya's flashback, Professor Shugel is having Tanya test a new Operation Orb. Operation Orbs being the tool that allows mages to use their mana to manipulate reality through magic.
Oh, right, okay.
The orb
Interesting,
that Tanya
wow.
uses in the show is referred to as the Elenium Type 95, a more rare version of the Type 13.
If this is on Crunchyroll, I'm going to add it to my list.
And more likely to
My queue.
The one that Tanya is supposedly testing here is identified as a better version of the Type 97, 2 generations beyond what we've seen in the anime.
Oh.
So it makes sense why she was flying
That's
out of control,
cool.
since the orb she was testing likely had significantly greater magical output than what she was used to.
That was
Moving on
funny
to
that having 2
episode
buttons.
In the beginning, Ain's used what looked to be his Despair Aura ability, which is supposed to cause fear to low-level entities. However, when neither Roswell nor the others looked to be phased by the aura, Ain's likely decided to stay on the cautious
He's
side.
like, okay, never mind.
When Tanya was giving her introductions, Ain's, Demiurge, and Albedo all flinched. The reason they did is because Tanya was about to say the word Teikoku, meaning empire in Japanese. As Nazarick had just finished dealing with the Baharuth Empire, it'd make sense that they'd be wary for any traps set by them. Thus, their overreaction to the word empire.
Oh, okay.
In episode 3, Demiurge's explanation of the situation is a common occurrence in Overlord, where Ainz allows Demiurge to make up the plan for something with which he has no idea as to what's going on.
Always the way, isn't it?
Demiurge is by far the smartest being in Nazarick.
I like this touch. It was cool. It's like, he always comes up with stuff and he's like, but Ainz is so clever, he already knew.
Whether his hypothesis on a world barrier is correct or not remains to be seen. His conclusion did inadvertently work to get the other Guardians to behave, while at the same time make Ainz look supremely intelligent as always.
He always
The rest
does
of this
it.
episode didn't really do much to showcase any other particularly interesting aspects. All we really got was some weak references to Tanya's harsh leadership, then some weird persuasion powers from Colonel Revergan, who, as far as I know, possesses no such ability in YOUJO SENKI.
Oh.
Episode 4 gives us some
Probably just a
funny
teacher ability.
interactions with a lot more of the main characters. First, we saw Ainz and Tanya. As the situation was a little bit intimidating for Ainz, his built-in emotion-suppressing mechanic had to take a bent. That was the purpose of the initial green aura that we saw around him.
Oh.
Then, as he tries to use his despair aura to gain the upper hand, Tanya uses her own authoritative aura to instill fear into Ainz.
Wow, so
his
back and forth with the
emotion-suppressing
abilities
mechanic
that they
takes
have.
Once again. Back in the classroom, Cocytus wonders why they're having a talent show, to which Colonel Revergan
Yeah.
mentions it was at the behest of Roswell. Now, the reason Ram says that the situation was settled wasn't so much because it was the demands of the teacher, but rather because it was a demand from Roswell himself.
Oh, okay, that makes sense, because she's always on
Due to
Roswell's
Ram
side,
and
isn't she?
Roswell's
Yeah.
unique relationship,
Yeah.
it makes sense why Ram would be so adamant as to accept anything that Roswell says. As for
That
Ram,
makes sense,
it's really
yeah.
great to see the
Like, she did something in
parallels
season
between
2 where she's like,
Subaru
I've always
and
got
Albedo's
Roswell's back,
devotion
yeah.
to Ainz. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they were on a similar scale. Then, on the other hand, there was the stark contrast between Cosma and Subaru, with their interactions serving to highlight Subaru's pride and Cosma's shamelessness.
Yeah.
But other than that, they're actually pretty similar in nature. Though, when Cosma says that Subaru's world is easier than his own, it makes me wonder if Cosma's insanely high luck stat would allow him to fare better in Subaru's situations.
Huh.
I mean, if Cosma had competent allies like Rem and Amelia, then perhaps he could actually make it through Subaru's world without dying.
Oh, do you
It's a
reckon? That's
rather
interesting
interesting
take.
perspective to have when you consider how different Subaru and Cosmo's lives would be if their worlds were
If they switched.
Now,
Ooh.
in episode 5, we see Ainz to be fairly embarrassed by Revergan's performance of the Empire's national anthem. It might be a bit of a stretch, but I believe the reason he was so embarrassed was because of how much Revergan reminded him of Pandora's actor.
Yeah.
The similarly
Who
styled
pops into
uniform
it.
combined with
Brilliant.
the overly embarrassing situation could have triggered the same sense of humiliation
Pandora's
he
actor,
feels
man.
when around Pandora's
Father.
actor. Later on, we get to see Rem's talent. If you haven't seen ReZero, then you're probably not aware that both Rem and Ram are demons. Given this demon bloodline, Rem has the ability to enter into what's called her demon.
She is
This
beastly,
results in a
man.
horn to manifest, which simultaneously gathers mana and increases her physical ability. It's not a state that's easily controllable, though, which is why when using it she has such a stark personality change. Shortly after this, Cocytus does his usual exhale, which at first glance appears to produce steam. However,
But it's
actually
icy.
a frosty mist, related to the frost-based attributes from his overall
Did he?
build.
Is this to
That's
say he
why
got
Super finds it
flashbacks?
to be freezing. You see, Cocytus's
Oh.
character revolves around this frozen-like theme.
I thought this was like when
His
Subaru's
name
going to be like
refers to
reminding
the
when
frozen
Puck
lake
sliced
in
his
the
head
ninth
off.
layer of Hell, and he's tasked as the floor guardian of Nazaryk's icy hellscape of the 5th floor. Naturally, he possesses a passive resistance to frost, as well as a freezing-type aura that makes the area around him colder. Obviously, it isn't active all the time, otherwise the entire class would be frozen.
Yeah, all the time.
Next to go up was Weiss, and after getting incapacitated by Tanya's magic, Ainz began to second-guess whether she and him could get along. The reason for this was because Ainz initially thought that he and Tanya were very similar, perhaps even in the ways that they led their subordinates as well. But after seeing that Tanya's leadership wasn't a facade like his, it put into perspective how different they really are. Ainz would never use his power to discipline the Guardians. Most of the time he just lets them do as they will.
Yeah, he does,
Whereas
doesn't he?
Tanya isn't afraid to put her foot down and lead with aggressive authority.
Oh, wow.
Even their
Okay.
differences in past jobs in the real world are highlighted through how they lead. Ainz was just your everyday salaryman, usually taking orders from those higher up in the ladder. On the other hand, Tanya was an HR manager responsible for dishing out the worst news possible to her former workers.
Oh.
So, even in her past life, she already lacked empathy. And that is clearly highlighted with how she treats her officers.
That's interesting. I like
The
that.
next little Easter egg was when Aqua was about to use her sacred Turn Undead ability. As I mentioned earlier, Turn Undead is the lowest level version of that spell that Aqua possesses. Sacred Turn Undead is more than enough to purify even a lich. Ainz likely realized this, which is why he preemptively put up some form of protective
barrier.
which
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sure
like, whoa, whoa,
resists
whoa, whoa.
divinity or holy type magic. Now, to keep the Overlord train going, I'm sure that we all thought Ainz was going to use the super tier magic Fallen Down to outdo Megumin's explosion.
Well,
And as great as that
would have been cool.
we instead got the 6th tier spell Control Weather, used in combination with the super tier spell Creation, which resulted in the formation of snow. However, before Ainz does this, he first recalls a memory of when he had to do a talent show in his past life. None of the acts were very good, but there was one thing that ended up amazing everyone, and that was snow. To someone who isn't familiar with Ainz's world, this may not seem like such a big deal. But where Ainz comes from, the year is 2138 and the future isn't so great.
Right, okay, that is an
The
interesting
corporations
take.
decimated the environment. Nature was pretty much extinct. The sky was always blocked by smog, and the air wasn't even breathable. The eventual decline of nature led to nightmarish weather patterns, where pollution into the waters made acid rain a normal occurrence, one that was much more frequent than snow. So, for something like snow to occur in a world like Ainz's, well, to him that was what he considered amazing. This particular reference into Overlord's lore is probably my favorite. I know it seems like Overlord has gotten a majority of the special treatment, but there's just so much detail to work with for them.
Yeah.
And it's great. Now, while everyone was admiring the snow, Cosmo likens Cocytus to General Winter, the Winter Shogun that they fought in episode 7.
Oh.
And that's
Forgot
actually
about that.
a pretty good comparison, given that the other half of Cocytus's entire build is based off of Samurai. Finally, we have a small reference to Grantz's training ground incident from episode 5 of YOUJO SENKI. Back when Tanya was training her recruits, Grantz triggered an avalanche that almost ended up killing him.
Oh.
So it's fair to assume that a little bit of snow would trigger some PTSD from that terrifying
That's
situation.
interesting. That's cool.
Although
So they have
some
paid
could
attention
argue
to all
that
of it. That's
Tanya's
class.
training was more scary than the avalanche itself. But yeah, that's pretty much every
Oh,
little thing
wow.
that I could find from the first 5 episodes of Isekai Quartet. Obviously, there's a decent amount of speculation, but part of the fun with making this video is trying to connect the scenes in Isekai Quartet to the original series. Now, if you're looking for more concrete lore, then you can check out my extensive video.
Oh god,
on
yes,
the
they've got some really good. He's got some really good videos on Overlord.
Those contain a lot more details that aren't shown in the anime. Anyway, be sure to leave a like or a comment to let me know if you want to see more Easter eggs. Now, before I go, here's a quick plug for my Isekai merch. You can buy this apparel from the links in the
And he has got a second video up, so
Anyway, as
I'm gonna
always, thank you so much
finish.
for watching, and if you enjoyed this type of content, then you
I'm gonna finish watching
So,
season
until
2,
next time, ciao.
which I probably will do like either tomorrow or the day after, and then I shall check out the Easter eggs. But that was cool. I do like how they have paid attention to the show, each individual show that it's involved, all the characters, and yeah, and I love as well, like, all the voice actors, they sound like it to me anyway, like, every character is the same. Some work, man. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos, and I'll see you guys. Next time.